Hello and welcome to another episode of Cinema Savvy News. It's myself, George, and tonight I am joined by Chris Vagana as once again we go through the very quiet week in news. And similar to last week, we have not necessarily breaking news, but we had a dead week followed up by some absolute chaos last night. And it obviously involves DC. But before we get to DC, Chris, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, so again, there's not really many news articles, but the news articles that we do have are big news. And judging by our track record so far with DC news, we're probably going to incur a lot of dislikes on this video. But, bring it on, because we have to talk about DC, because that's the main news article this week.
Yes. Before we get to DC, as ever, we have to talk about another cinematic legend that's passed away. Unfortunately, this week it was Jerry Lewis, one of the most not for after comedians. Sorry, that's more Game of Thrones there. One of the most well-respected comedians in arguably the history of TV and film. Everything he's done has inspired so many people, even stuff like Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
So as usual, we have to start off with that. And once again, we really need to sort out how we do this. We're going to transition into the most opposite thing we can think of. And you may have guessed by thumbnail we're going to talk about Jared Leto, but we're going to talk about the Joker. Before that, we have to talk about the Batman film, which would have been the thumbnail, which would have been the description. But when I said the news was chaos, this was one of them. Last night, it broke that the Batman film will be standalone, not part of the DCEU, not featuring Ben Affleck. Today, Matt Reeves has come to Twitter to say that, wow, I can actually get the message up. Very, very confusing because he kind of hints that it is going to be in the DCEU, but he doesn't actually outright say it. I've just got his tweet up on the screen now, and for anyone that's interested, he says, just to be clear, of course Batman will be part of the DC universe. Batman will be Batman.
That's nice to know.
Well, obviously he's Batman, but then he said in my comments from a while back about not being part of the DCEU, I was talking about the Batman being a story specifically about Batman, not about the others in the universe, that it wouldn't be filled with cameo servicing other stories, that it would be a Batman film followed with an emoticon of a bat. Thank God for coming to Twitter to sort out the absolute shitstorm of articles that came out last night. But part of me is slightly good. I won't lie.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe there's going to be some DC fanboys out there that say this whole confusion with DC at the moment is some like clever viral marketing campaign to endorse the Joker origin movie, and the chaos and confusion that's brought about it is all because of that. Yeah, it's all kind of up in the air at the moment, and the last couple of weeks we've been doing the news, there always seems to be a DC news article with Ben Affleck saying he's not going to continue being the Batman, then going back and saying that no, he's not. But I mean, it's convenient timing, definitely, with this news article. I look at it both ways. I mean, we're going to get a Batman trilogy, apparently, with Matt Reeves. Apparently, all the behind-the-scenes stuff, like his back and forth and his ideas of story and things like that with Warner Brothers, have all been going well so far. So it seems like he's definitely going to be the director, and we're going to get a trilogy with it. Question is, who's going to be our Batman? And really what started all this, we'll talk about it in a minute, is the Joker origin story. We now know that they're going to work on standalone DC films that, yes, they're still a DC film with DC characters, but they're going to be completely separate from the main DCU that we know. I've wanted this for so long because, I mean, Wonder Woman, yes, it still was tied in with DCU, but for all intents and purposes, take off the first 30 seconds, take off the last 30 seconds, you pretty much got a standalone Wonder Woman film with that. And I kind of want a standalone Batman trilogy. I'm kind of torn with this. I'd be fine if they do get a new actor for Batman. I'd be fine if they carry on with Affleck. I really liked Affleck as Batman. I just didn't like the characterization with, guidance and a script and direction from Matt Reeves. I think it could be really good. But at this stage, with all the rumors we've seen with Ben Affleck, and also it might feel that Matt Reeves is stepping on his toes a little bit, because remember, originally Ben Affleck was set to direct. He was going to helm his own trilogy, maybe following the footsteps of Christopher Nolan. Maybe that's what he was pushing for. He was going to pen the script. Then they said, we're doing page one rewrite. All your ideas are out the window. Then he steps down from directing. I think that was the first sign there that he wants out. And I think that they're going to respect that. I think he'll do Justice League, and then he'll find a way to get out of there. And maybe this Batman trilogy, standalone trilogy, will be that way to get out of that.
Yeah, it's a really odd situation now, because
It is awkwardly
like I said,
worded.
yeah, it's been really badly phrased. But even with the Affleck stuff and the whole DC universe as well, it was only a week ago Ben Affleck's brother said that he's not playing Batman anymore, and Ben Affleck never came out. He's got his own Twitter. He's got all this. His reps came out, not himself, which I thought was a bit odd. And it was his brother. It wasn't like it was an article. It was his brother that come out and said he's not going to be Batman.
Warner Brothers refused to comment.
Yeah,
at that time.
And then, even a month or two ago, was there that rumor of that Superman were mulling over a Red Son film that wouldn't be part of the DCU? And you kind of think now that, oh, okay, so they've got this Joker film. If they're going to do Red Son, maybe they are going to set up these non-DCEU films, which just is absolute bollocks. Because if you were going to sit there and say, I'm doing a cinematic universe, you do your cinematic universe. If you don't want to do a cinematic universe, then you don't do it. I haven't even got to the 2 Joker films yet.
Well, let's be honest, it was just reactionary to Marvel, wasn't it? Like, Warner Brothers, they've got all these franchises, but they're big ones that kind of ended. Yes, granted, they've got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them now, but they wanted that. The superhero craze is still rife at the moment. It hasn't dropped off yet, and they wanted to get in on that. This, to me, shows that DC don't have faith in their product. Maybe they've had second thoughts. Maybe they're rethinking the wheel at the moment. I'd be happier with standalone stories, in all honesty. Maybe they're going to do these standalone based on iconic comments. We'll talk about the Joker in a minute. Maybe it might be a Killing Joke film. You talked about Red Son. Don't know what the Batman trilogy could be. Maybe it'll be its own thing, or maybe it will be like how Nolan's had story elements from classic comic books. Maybe it'll be something akin to that. It's all over the place at the minute. I think we're going to have to wait for a proper official confirmation from Warner Brothers. But at this stage, with all these news articles that are coming out, to me, man, even Warner Brothers don't know. They're still clueless.
They don't. And speaking of clueless, should we just move on to the...
Let's do it.
Right, a couple of days ago it broke, and I kind of laughed at this. An origin film is being put in production for the Joker, directed by Todd Phillips, best known for the Hangover trilogy, aka one great original comedy destroyed by the second and third installments. And how does it get any more mental than that? Scorsese is producing it. I don't understand where this has come from. I don't understand why Martin Scorsese... I mean, is it one of them where Nolan produced Man of Steel, or Spielberg produced Transformers 5 because he actually was an executive producer, where we actually know that he didn't do anything on that film. He just probably got a payslip to be quiet about it. And could it get any weirder than the Joker origin film being directed by The Hangover and being produced by the Goodfellas directors? It's not starring Jared Leto, and it's not and it's not a part of the DC EU. Also, because it's too much effort to call it the DCU, because they'd probably get upset to be compared to the MCU. I do not know, like I said, why on earth they want to do, let alone an origin film for the Joker, but have your primary antagonist of Batman and not connect it to what's going to be the Batman films if it's standalone, if it's not going to be... Because now that the Batman is apparently part of the DCU, this won't be. And is this them cashing in on Venom? But they can't cash in on Venom because it hasn't come out yet. I don't know.
I'm going to say exactly the same thing I did for Venom, and this is even more so with Joker. Joker works better when he's bouncing off Batman. The whole Batman-Joker relationship is, in my opinion, the most fascinating hero-villain relationship in anything. Not just comic books, not just superhero things, in anything. And yeah, great, you've got Joker, and I'm sure, well, if they might get a great Joker, we might have, you know, the next one after Heath Ledger, or we might have something more like Jared Leto. We don't know at this stage. This is strange to me. And the Joker is a character that I think works better when you don't know everything about his origin. I know there's going to be people out there talking about Killing Joke, and I love Killing Joke as much as the next man, but if this is an all-out Killing Joke adaptation, that's fair enough. But beyond that, the mystery and like you have this psychopathic character, like, I don't know, you'll have Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs or something like that. When you don't know everything about him, that's what makes it scary. And I know that there's like Hannibal Rise, and there's origins out there for the character. I don't know if I want an origin for the Joker. The name, the Scorsese effect worked on me. Like, I saw that name And I think that we forgot about the guy who was directing it, Todd Phillips. I've only seen the first Hangover film. I didn't watch any of the sequels. And I watched The Hangover at a time where everyone was hyping it up. Everyone was saying, like, this is the best comedy in the last 10 years, blah, blah, blah. Go and see it. And I watched it. I was like, wasn't really my thing. So the Scorsese name, although he's only a producer, that's got me interested. The fact of the guy that they've got to direct it, that's what the finished product is going to be like, no matter who the producer is. I'd much rather see a Martin Scorsese directed Joker movie. I think that'd get my interest a little bit more than that. But the whole, like, the Harley Quinn Joker one, I couldn't care less about that. I really don't. The fallout after Suicide Squad and everything like that.
Let's talk about the romantic film.
Well, it wasn't it, from Suicide Squad? They completely missed the point of that relationship.
Yeah, because it's great role models to tell your young girls that make sure you get beaten the fuck up by your boyfriends. And it's fine for your dads to buy you slutty t-shirts that say you're their little monster when you're an obese child. Sorry, what? It's just fucking wrong. Go to a convention, you see a kid dressed as Harley Quinn, it's fucking wrong. It's disgusting, and parents need to be ashamed of themselves and learn some basic human instincts. Let's talk about Harley Quinn. So the second thing that came out last night was that apparently, we've got confirmation on this now, apparently the Joker was going to be in Gotham City Sirens with Harley Quinn, and then they were going to do a Joker and Harley Quinn film. Today, they confirmed that the Joker and Harley Quinn film is replacing Gotham City Sirens, and David Ayer's off it, probably because of what he said at Comic-Con, I would bet.
Probably because how they just completely changed his product that he made for Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and then at Comic-Con, he said, like, I think, he basically said fuck DC in his Netflix panel. He goes, Netflix actually let you make films you want to make. And you don't say that when you're contracted to make another DC film, but hey-ho, he had his choice. Yes, the Joker and Harley Quinn film, is starring Jared Leto. Let's not forget that. So we're going to get two Joker films probably coming out in a similar...
It'd be like the Jungle
similar
Book,
release date. Well, I would say it's arguably worse than that because Jungle Book has... I mean, I know that Joker's got comics, but yeah, they delayed it by a year. But if anything, it's more like White House Down versus... What was the boring Scottish guy one?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah.
Olympus Has Fallen came out first, and it got slightly better critic reviews and made more money. White House Down, the better film, the funner film, the less, like, you know what I mean? It was the one that you would enjoy watching one. I did enjoy it far, far more than the other one because it wasn't taken itself seriously. That was Hounded that made no money because 2 months before there'd already been a White House terrorist attack film. Mm-hmm. You're going to have two Joker films come out in the space of, like, I mean, it might not come out in the space of months, but it's going to be pretty close. There are going to be people that go see this and be like, well, why is this Joker not that Joker? Why is that Joker not this Joker? And it's just absolute nonsense. They do not have an absolute clue what they are doing. I feel that they've only made this Harley Quinn film just to sell some more slip-tops, in all honesty.
Yeah. Exactly. It's to cash in off Suicide Squad because, like, say what you want about the film. I know some people that absolutely love that film. The biggest proponent of that film is all the merchandise that's come out after it. Whether it be those Daddy's Little Monster t-shirts, whether it be posters, whatever it happens to be.
You can buy the Joker pink pimp cane, you know?
Oh, Jesus. The thing is, though, if this is entirely centered on Joker and Harley, maybe they might flesh out those flashbacks more from Suicide Squad. Maybe they might actually use some of the footage from that movie. We don't know, because apparently, according to Jared Leto, they shot enough stuff with him in that movie to make his own Joker film. I think if they did that, though, that might be even more chaotic and disjointed than even Suicide Squad was. But if Jared Leto is in this movie more, maybe we'll have more basis of criticism for him, because I was saying this earlier, like, I don't think we've seen enough of him to completely compare him to other Jokers. But then again, the 10, 15 minutes we did get of him in Suicide Squad, I hated. So out of the two, I'm looking forward to the Joker origin story more, although I still have reservations about that. And also the fact that the news now is that this might be replacing Gotham City Sirens. I don't know. I wasn't looking forward to Gotham City Sirens anyway, in all honesty.
No,
you can tell that they were going to try and push these two in that film anyway.
Yeah, it's chaos is a ladder. And DC are at the bottom of the pit. They're not climbing anything.
But they are winning for Halloween costumes every year, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, it's Halloween.
Probably
You have to dress up. You have to dress up as a monster, right, for Halloween. And you see enough of them on a night out.
I'll go dressed as Doomsday this year. It'll be great.
You're gonna honk or someone. Is that everything I've got to say about the Joker and DC? I mean, in all, summed up, this whole Batman nonsense, if you're getting like 6 different articles in the space of like 3 hours, something's wrong with your entire company. Either you've got people leaking stuff left, right, and center, or you have people that don't have a clue what they're doing and just telling things to the news, or you're just a company that is insufficiently run, which they are. Should we piss off the DC fans even more? Let's talk about a successful cinematic universe, Marvel. Guardians 3. Now, this is absolutely terrifying. Guardians 3 is apparently going to set up the next 10 to 20 years of Marvel films.
That's a depressing thought for me.
It's depressing because I'll be in my 40s in 20 years, and that is fucking terrifying. And I will not be watching these childish films. Robert Downey Jr. will be in his 70s in 20 years' time. Let that sink in. James Gunn said this in a Facebook Live when they asked him about stuff. He also mentioned, if anyone hasn't got James Gunn on Facebook, he's absolutely amazing. He does a lot of Q&As. He just says things how they are. I think he's the only director at Marvel that actually is allowed to have freedom of speech. And he said that he's been considering bringing in Nova in each film. And again, he's considering that for Guardians 3, but he won't say anything right now. Obviously, Nova Corps is in it, but Nova is not at this point. And he also spoke about the famous David Bowie cameo. And you were thinking, well, David Bowie's dead. Well, yes, we know that. But after he died, it was one of them sort of clickbait articles where they had a plan for him to have a cameo. And usually, without sounding like distasteful, that gets said about a lot of people after they pass away. That someone always had a cameo somewhere. It happens in sport. Oh, yeah, in Formula 1, for example, there was a lad that died. And Ferrari, we were going to sign him. I was like, well, you weren't going to sign him. You're saying it for good PR. James Gunn actually spoke yesterday about the details of the cameo and that he... minor spoiler, the Head Ravisher Squad, which is like the good version of Suicide Squad in space, they had like Sylvester Stallone, that ice thing, the talking TV box. I think it was like Miley Cyrus or something. Anyway, you had like all these like wicked, cool, weird people, and he said that David Bowie was going to be one of these people. Obviously, Moonage Daydream was used in Guardians 1, and I think one of his songs was used in the TV spots for Guardians 2. So obviously that connection was there. The talks had happened. But it was just nice to get a bit of background because I could have actually seen that working really well.
Yeah, and Bowie's one of those people, like musical personality and in terms of his films, that just had that look. It was like just his face. It had that kind of otherworldly quality to it, especially like Labyrinth or something like that. So I could absolutely see him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think he would have absolutely been at home in a role like that with those kind of characters.
In a better world, he could have been Star-Lord's dad.
That would have been, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kurt Russell is the absolute man, and I don't know if Bowie would have fitted that role, but certainly some kind of role in this film, I could absolutely see that. Just going back to what you said, though, the 20 years thing. Now, comic book movies, in my opinion, have kind of been around since really like the late 70s. Like, I know they were around before that with like TV shows, little vignettes at the cinema, whatever, what have you. But like Superman the movie, to me, really kickstarted that trend. And I mean, we're here now in 2017, still going strong with comic book movies, but we have just a sheer massive volume of them now every year. Like every year that rolls around, you're guaranteed that you're going to have about 6, maybe more. I don't even know. So can they maintain that at that volume for another 10, 20 years? Me and you, we've discussed this all the time on the channel. We think that there's going to be a considerable dip after Infinity War Part 2. That will kind of be when everything rounds off to a close. And yes, they'll start up something else. But to me, it'll be like those long-running TV shows where you have the main cast that's the best, and then you get to like a phase 2 of it where new ones come in and you kind of drop off it. Wow, I'll be 44 years old. Will I still be going to see Homecoming?
You might have a kid for the 7th reboot of Spider-Man.
Oh, jeez.
They'll be like, no, wait, hold on. So if we've got 15 years in 3 Spider-Man, 20 years, we should be on our 7th Spider-Man. Yes, we should. Unless Tom Holland does actually get 10 years out of it. But then again, in 10 years' time, they might be making a Spider-Man film for the MCU and a standalone Spider-Man and a Portal Spider-Man. And then, I don't know, they might have Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man. There could be all these simultaneous Spider-Man. And now, it's just absolute bollocks, isn't it? Let's not let that happen. Give up. We'll move on.
Speaking about a franchise of films that's probably going to be around for the next 20 years.
If you get one film, yeah, but this has already been around for 40 years, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Right. So the report last week where we spoke about the Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff, I kind of glossed over like a sentence, as did everyone else, because they were just so excited that apparently Lucasfilm were considering Yoda and Boba Fett films as well as Obi-Wan Kenobi. This has cropped up again this week, and in all honesty, I don't know if it's the same view. I thought this was common knowledge years ago.
For years, yeah. When the concept of standalones first came out, this was sort of around then. I thought.
Josh Trank, everyone knew was going to be doing a Boba Fett film. Obviously, for obvious reasons, he isn't, and he got sacked. The first one to get sacked too. Yoda, I would go on record 1,000 times over. Never been a big fan of his ever, even as a kid. Never had the Yoda hype to him. But in terms, even if I loved him, you do not need a Yoda film. That's taking the piss. Should we move on? Because there's still some more Star Wars news.
Just really quickly, I don't want to see. I want to see new things. All these spin-offs that come out that are about characters that we've already seen, it just makes the galaxy and the universe feel so much smaller. Make a new character, go with some eras that we haven't even seen before on the screen. We don't need to know Yoda's past. We pretty much know everything about Boba Fett anyway, whether it's from the prequels or all the stuff in between. He's
a crap character. He looks cool. He doesn't even look cooler than his dad.
I mean, if we set something like after the Sarlacc pit, and I mean, I know that was a huge thing in the old canon, the Legends now. If you set something after that and you continue the future of the character, maybe Yoda, I know we don't know his species. His species is still unknown in the canon. We don't need to have a backstory of Yoda. That's part of the mystery about the character, and that's what makes the character great. I'm all for the spin-off idea as long as we get some new stuff, which is unfortunately not what we're going to get with the next one, which is the Han Solo possible title rumor, which is quite possibly the most imaginative title to a film I've ever seen in my life.
Han Solo, a Star Wars story.
Who would have thunk it?
In all honesty, this is the only thing they could have called it. Given that, is it going to be Han Solo, a Star Wars story, or is it going to be Han Solo, a Star Wars biopic? I don't know yet. Right, the thing is, so much drama has happened with this. I just want to watch it for the sake of watching it now. Like, I never asked for this. When Rogue One was pitched and the idea that stealing Death Star, I was like, awesome idea, like, go for it. Obi-Wan Kenobi, we've all wanted Obi-Wan Kenobi. No one can hide that fact. I think if anyone 5 years ago said there'd be a Star Wars standalone film, everyone would have said Obi-Wan Kenobi first. Han Solo, no one asked for. Director got sacked. I can't wait for the film about the film.
It's just the fact that he looks nothing like him either. That Alden Ehrenreich, like it's not even.
Wait for some official stuff first. Like, the thing is, everyone goes mental about that. Imposter online. Sorry, imposter. No, people pretend he's an actor, but he's an impressionist. Forgotten his name.
Yeah, no, I have as well. I don't. Yeah,
but everyone talks about.
Subscribed to him.
Yeah, I think
years ago.
He was great at impressions, and he would do everyone because he looked like Harrison Ford. It gave him more credit. Why have I forgotten his name? It frustrates me.
But I'm gonna have a look if you carry on.
Yeah, he done amazing. He was good at impressions. It doesn't make him an actor, and he did play young Harrison Ford in a film once.
Anthony Gruber.
There we go, Anthony Gruber. You can't just because you look and sound like someone doesn't mean you are an actor. Like, that's one thing you need to establish. Has he been in a film since that age of Adeline? No, because they needed a young Harrison Ford. That's who they cast. It makes sense to call it Hans. I mean, it got leaked from a magazine that was stamped over the tops, and there's nothing else they can call this. And another bit of side news is Emilia Clarke. Her character is going to be called Kira. Michael K. Williams, an actor who you could recognize from The Wire, 12 Years a Slave, and a couple of other things. He basically commented this week that his part's been cut from the film. With all the drama that happened in the reshoots, he's on set in Africa shooting I think either a TV series or a new film. And he says, I couldn't have come over there till November to have done filming, and they'll have wrapped by then. So he said, I think I've been cut, and I'd assume that they're probably going to reshoot scenes. But he might have been a minor character, so I don't really care.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think this is going to turn out like maybe Ron Howard can salvage it. I don't think he's going to be able to save it. I think he can salvage it at this point. To me, it just feels like it's going to be a jumbled mess. Kind of like how the opening of Rogue One was to me, and I'll still stand by that. Like, I love Rogue One. Went to see it 6 times at the cinema, and the ending of that film is fantastic. But the first half is kind of choppy, and you can kind of see where they removed and like changed things around.
I trust Lucasfilm on this one because I kicked off a lot about what's his name, the writer, Lawrence Kasdan,
Yeah.
and the so-called rumors were they weren't shooting a script, and if they brought in Ron Howard, a safe bet. With Rogue One, they had to redo a story, whereas with Han Solo, the way I've envisioned and what I'm reading, they're just reshooting and not changing because the reason they got sacked is because they weren't following the script and what they had to do. So I think this is different to Rogue One, and also they've got a lot more time than Rogue One did. I mean, Rogue One was shot like August. It came out in December. They got sacked in June, and the film was due out the following May. So at least they've had 11 months rather than like 3.
Thing is, though, didn't they say that they were almost complete on the film? They were like 3 weeks out from wrapping. So if it's a case of reshooting, it sounds like it's a case of reshooting the entire film, which is not really doable.
They had 3 weeks. Yeah, they had 3 weeks left, and then when they sacked them, it started reshooting on July the 10th. And I don't know if it still is. I don't actually know. I won't lie. I'd imagine it's. I mean, I think originally they did a 10-week shoot, so early September, which 10 weeks isn't bad. I mean, look at Justice League. Mm-hmm. They've had like 3 months of reshoots, and that's off a finished film. And it's obviously very different, the circumstances of how they've swapped directors around and stuff. But I feel that Star Wars is doing it the right way, and they don't want a Justice League obviously on their hands. But I just feel that even if it is salvaged, it's not a film that many people ask for. Mm-hmm. Like give me Donald Glover's Lando any day of the week, I'd be down with that. Even try young Harrison Ford or young Han Solo somewhere, but he did not need his own film. I like the mystery of like you said about Yoda. Harrison says everything when you keep calling Han Solo Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
there's that bit of enigma that it's going to take some things away. Like I want to see him get the Falcon, yeah, but they could do it in a Lando film. Just give Donald Glover the screen time. It's just
you get everything you need with the character in his first scene in A New Hope.
Yeah,
that's really all you need.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like Obi-Wan, like that's an established character who's been in technically all 7 films before then, and he's even name dropped in Rogue One. He is someone that there is a story to tell between Episode 3 and 4. He has been there for 19 years. He didn't just sit in a cave for 19 years. But Han Solo, it was probably just easier. It's like, okay, let's cash in on the popular character, and there are a lot of popular Star Wars characters. But I feel that we will get. Obviously, we're getting Han Solo and Obi-Wan. I feel that we'll probably get Boba Fett, and then I think that after that, everything's going to be between Episode 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Which I won't lie, as a fan, there's so much to fill in. I absolutely cannot wait because that's going to have some really good lore for them to do. But yeah, that Han Solo. I mean, it's due out in 9 months. 9 months now. I'd assume. I mean, it makes sense that I think we got the Last Jedi title about 10 months before the film came out. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Han Solo leak is true, because apparently it's in a toy catalog. So if you think about it, the Force Friday is coming out in September for a December film. Obviously, the Han Solo merch isn't going to come out in January, but I'd imagine February, March time they've got to start prepping more money they need to make, because they're going to miss out on so much money having a year and a half. Oh no, wait, it'll just be a year gap, won't it, between episodes?
Yeah. So it won't even be that, will it? It'll just be like 6 months from December to May.
5 months and then a year gap. Yeah, then it's just going to be. I'll let it slide. Like I like the other films, but I say we move on from Star Wars because we know there's going to be loads of Star Wars stuff coming out soon to talk about. A film everyone's forgotten about in the comic realm, Gambit, starring Channing Tatum. They've come out and said the film's starting from scratch because they keep going through directors like Lucasfilm do. Channing Tatum's come out and said that it's a blessing. They're starting from scratch again on the screenplay. He said because of Logan and Deadpool, he said it means they can do a bit more in terms of story. I think he just means that I can have some like 15 rated scenes or some nonsense like that. I don't think anyone cares for a Gambit film. Like, I won't lie, I didn't mind Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He was nothing like the TV show that everyone loves, I don't want to see Channing Tatum as Gambit. I want to see Channing Tatum back on Jump Street.
I'm the same. I'm not opposed to seeing Gambit again in some incarnation in one of the X-Men films coming out, although X-Men being what it is at the minute, I think it's glad that he's getting his own movie, to be honest, and staying out of that. I don't want Channing Tatum as Gambit. And I know he's made like a sort of comeback now, like he's found his niche with the particular kind of comedy. He's done a few serious roles with like Foxcatcher and things like that. But to me, he's not Gambit. Very troubled production, but maybe if they're looking at Logan and Deadpool and how to take the character seriously, that's fine. Gambit was always one of my favorite members of the X-Men from I think I first saw him in the cartoon series in the 90s. He was always one of my favorite characters to play in like Marvel versus Capcom as well, for any gamers out there watching. But no, it's very troubled production. But I mean, maybe this is the inspiration they need to get a good movie out, but it's not one that I'm particularly geared up for.
No, I don't think anyone is, in all honesty. Moving on, I think that's it for comic book news tonight. Almost, thank God.
Yeah.
Paul Greengrass, Lord Shaky Cam himself, he's making. Well, Netflix have paid $20 million to get the rights for his new film, which is a lot of money. And it's going to be on the 2011 Norway terrorist attack. For those that don't know what that is when a terrorist of Christian descent, not Muslim, because he is a terrorist still. He, I think, blew up. I can remember the news. He set up a bomb in the capital, Oslo, and then he drove over to like an island where there's loads of like young, sort of like politicians, like one of them sort of boot camp things, and he shot like 150 of them, and it was all in the name of the Bible, because that makes you terrorist as well if you want to kill in the name of that too. I'll just remind you all that there are more than one type of terrorist. But that is going to be a very haunting film. I don't want to say excited to see it. It's the wrong word. But I feel that that's got Oscars written all over it. Yeah. And that could be very, very fascinating, given if you look into the real events and how fucked up the entire thing is.
Can Netflix films still get nominated for Oscars? Because I know there was the whole thing with
it was Cannes
last year, wasn't it?
Well, if the Oscar rules are, if you put it in cinemas for a week, you get eligible for Oscars. The I'd Say one from last year was absolutely outstanding. Well, I think it was the year before now, Beast No Nation.
I still haven't seen that yet. I really do need to check that one out.
That was the Oscar So White year where he should have been nominated head and shoulders for best one actor because he was terrifying in that film. But I mean, Netflix, like, they'll do anything, won't they? They've made Adam Sandler comedies. They've made Oscar films like Beast No Nation. They've made Cannes films like that Okja, which caused all the riots. Well, not riots, but it caused all the snobs to boo. A Netflix logo because they're all grown-ups. And this is, I mean, it's when they get the established directors, that's always when you're making real impact. And I feel that this could be something very interesting. However, I do think it would work better as a TV series.
So yeah, it's very different from his other film, completely different from his other films. Hope he doesn't bring the whole shaky cam into it. You can make it work for a film like this, I guess, if you want to get like in close personal with the action that's happening. But I mean, I'll check it out. Netflix has been doing some great stuff, and if they've paid this much just to get his next film, then it shows that they have a lot of faith in it. So I'll check it out.
Yeah. Next up, we have a reboot of Knight Rider because people really, really want that to happen. Done by the Weinstein family, who still haven't released Snowpiercer in England.
Yeah, they haven't, have they? Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Still haven't. And it's like, what, 4 years later? John Cena is being eyed as, I think he's called Knight, which is Hasselhoff's character, and Kevin Hart is the voice of the car. I won't lie, I'll watch it. I think it would be awful, but apparently they want like a 21 Jump Street vibe to it. So whether they're just going to go for an outright comedy, there's potential there because Kevin Hart is absolutely hilarious. John Cena can be very funny when he wants to be. However, I feel that with his reputation as like Big Match John from wrestling and stuff, that at the minute, until he's got to like any superior level and he's out of the wrestling contract, this will be like garnered towards kids, which is my one shame that I really hope isn't true.
Let's just remake everything from the 80s or 90s and make it popular. Actually, wasn't there like a TV show of Knight Rider that came out?
They tried to reboot it and it failed. Yeah, it failed and they cancelled after 1 year apparently.
Yeah, and I saw rumors as well that oh god, what's the name? James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, wanted to take a shot at a Knight Rider thing. I think I saw news of that a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if that was true or not. I don't want to see this, and just the fact that I'm imagining Kevin Hart as the voice of Kit the car, and I'm just not feeling it. To me, it's going to be like, do you remember that? Did you ever see Inspector Gadget with Matthew Broderick? Do you remember
I like that film because I was 3 years old.
Do you remember the car from that was voiced by Sinbad? It's
yeah.
Just how I think this is going to turn out. It's going to go with that tone of like the new Jumanji film. And granted, like I haven't seen the new Jumanji film or like even like the new Baywatch film again, which I didn't see, but I can tell what kind of tone that would be. I think they're going to try something akin to that, and I don't know if that would work for Knight Rider.
Uh,
John
I-
Cena's making those acting gains right now with Transformers coming out and then this. So who knows? Watch this space.
he's gonna. It's a different topic for another chat, but I think he's got a big future. Not on any level of The Rock, but I feel like because with wrestling, just off a quick note, he's dropped to part time. Obviously, do loads of filming and stuff like that as well. But I think when he gets out of his contract, he's going to go full and just go for acting. And I feel that, I mean, he's a fucking machine. Like once he was meant to be off for 9 months, and he returned within 3, and I think it was like a torn like shoulder muscle, and he's a fucking like superhuman. He's like The Rock. He won't stop working. And I think that's off topic, but that's testament to wrestlers because they work like 6 days a week, doing all that sort of stuff. And then I think they're traveling for like 48 weeks out of the 52 a year. And I think that's where the work habit comes in, seen as a guy that he can rattle films out, and I think he'll be doing that. And he's a smart guy. Doing Knight Rider would not be a smart move, but like I said last time, Transformers is a smart move for him. He'll get big off that. Granted, the film could be awful, could be great, but he will be a big thing to come.
A really quick bit of news before we move on to the next one. Speaking of The Rock, I guess we can mention that he's no longer the highest paid actor. Is that news? Is that news to talk about? Is that founded? Is that backed up?
Yeah, it was on the news that it's come out that Marky Mark got paid 68 million across the year. I genuinely don't know how, unless he's done. I know he did that Boston film. I know he did Transformers, but I'm trying to think of the other films he did this year. But Marky Mark got paid 68 mil. The Rock got paid 65 mil. I think The Rock was in like 2 films last year.
Yeah.
Put it this way, like they're all rich, and there's going to be families out there moaning that Emma Stone got paid 26 mil. Tape, sorry, what? Yeah. So next year, The Rock will return as the highest paid actor in the world, because everyone's desperate to get The Rock in their products, not Mark Wahlberg. As much as I love Mark Wahlberg, Oscar nominated Mark Wahlberg as well.
Yes, never forget that. It's like when you say like Oscar winning Nicolas Cage in moments like that.
Oscar winning Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Let's move
on. Speaking of Oscar bait, but this one's not going to get any awards. The much anticipated Queen biopic, which has been, I don't want to say whitewashed, but like drug and sex washed to appease 10-year-olds.
UK rock band Queen biopic, by the way. We need to clarify that. We already had the one with Helen Mirren of the actual monarch Queen, just in case people were getting confused about that.
Let's go read out some actors. I know one. Gwilym Lee will play Brian May. Ben Hardy, who was that amazing character in X-Men Apocalypse, not Vulture, Angel.
Angel. Yeah.
He is playing Roger Taylor, and Joseph Mazzello as John Deacon. For those who don't know, Rami Malek has been confirmed as Freddie Mercury already. The issue with this entire film is that for years and years, Borat, why do I always forget his name?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron Cohen is like the spitting image of him. He'd been wanting to play him for years. They've been in talks and everything. And he left the project when they said, well, we're not going to be going into the drugs. We're not going to be going into his sex life or any of that. It's basically just going to probably be a shit film about why Queen were an amazing band, which isn't what you want to see in a biopic. A biopic needs to be from a neutral standpoint for you to have a look into the life. And I've got a real bad feeling about this film. Not that I would care anyway. I like Queen, but I don't think there's enough substance to tell a film about Queen. In all honesty, there's only a film about Freddie Mercury that people would want to see, and they fucked that up clearly.
Yeah, I only know 2 people off this list actually. The first one was Ben Hardy, as you just said, from X-Men Apocalypse and EastEnders as well, and I know Joseph Mazzello. He played Dustin Moskovitz in The Social Network, and for any Jumanji fans out there, he played the little kid in that alongside Kirsten Dunst. Was it Peter? I can't remember the name of the character. Basically everything you just said. I think we did do a news article on this Queen film coming out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just going to reiterate what I said there. This could have been an incredible film had they have just done like a no holds barred, really dark look into the life of Freddie Mercury. Because I mean, there was the whole glamour and glitz of the stage, but behind the scenes, a lot of stuff went down. It would have been nice to have seen a film to delve into that and have the balls to do that. But unfortunately, Queen have a reputation to hold up, I guess, and don't want to talk about that. So it's just going to be a Freddie Mercury hype train by the looks of things. it might be fine. It might be like a Netflix watch or something like that, or a rental. But it's a shame that we're not going to get that. And you know that Sacha Baron Cohen, yes, he does things like Grimsby or Borat, but when he can turn in a solid, serious performance if he wanted to. And you knew that this was something he was passionate about. He fought with the band, I think, like in terms of the vision of this film. Like you can clearly see that he wanted to give this his all, and he was passionate about it. But it's a shame that we won't get that vision, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just a waste. He's a good actor. He was in Hugo. You don't just get picked for a Scorsese film unless you want to be the Joker. Well, Jared Leto didn't get picked. Anyway, moving on. It seems every week we have something to say about Creed 2, and I don't care. I love hearing about every week. Every week it's Sylvester on Instagram. This week it's Dolph Lundgren, who's posted a training video on his Instagram, and he just put hashtag Creed 2. And it's just him training. Like, he's not in a futuristic gym. That is the downside. He is just, he's still shredded. I mean, it's not been officially confirmed yet, but come on, like,
yeah, it's happening. It's
happening. Like, I'm trying to think of a more sort of hyped up return to a role than this that wasn't like Star Wars or anything like that. Like, the amount of like social media posts that have been building up, it's almost like in wrestling territory where you're building up someone coming back after like 10 years, like The Rock or something. Whereas like, no, it's just Dolph Lundgren in Creed.
Yeah, and I rewatched the first Rocky at the weekend because, you know, every so often you just got to watch Rocky every now and then. It's been a while since I watched it. It's an incredible film, and yes, Rocky 4 did go into absolutely ridiculous territory. It was the middle of the 80s, of course it was, but it's funny because Creed, to me, it was like set in the same continuity as like the tone of the first Rocky film, Rocky Balboa and things like that. And it looked like they were going more grounded. Now we're going back to like the 80s and the hilarity of Ivan Drago. I'm completely fine with it. It's a rivalry that I've been wanting to see again for ages. I don't know. By the sounds of this, it sounds like it's going to be Ivan Drago versus Creed, which I don't know how I feel about that. I would have had it where either do Ivan Drago's son or do something involved with a new Russian wrestler and then have Ivan Drago there who's maybe his trainer. You could have that moment where he locks eyes with Sylvester Stallone. There's still that anger there that he killed Apollo Creed in the ring. You can bring Creed's son into it and that whole hullabaloo. But by the sounds, if we do get Ivan Drago versus Creed Jr., I'm fine with that. Like, get that synth soundtrack by Vince DiCola again. Give me a cameo from the robot, Paulie's robot. Jobs are good, and bring on Creed 2.
I feel that it'd be like a scene like Game of Thrones, like the Hound, no, not the Hound, the Mountain versus the Viper.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, Apollo Creed, you murdered him. Well, obviously he didn't rape his children because it's him.
Yeah.
Different conversation for another time. But
I can see it now, though. It'll be like, you know, he's really hot-headed because he killed his dad and he's boxing.
He's like circling around the ring.
Yeah, he's like, you know, overly aggressive.
Confess.
And then Sylvester Stallone's going to be like, you know, I was in the ring with this guy. I know how he fights. I've got to teach you how to do it. You've got to be patient. You can't. Oh, I can't wait. Just talking about it now. I want another Rocky movie.
It's going to happen. Speaking of Oberyn Martell, Pedro Pascal, who actually I can't talk about social media. He has been cast in the villain for The Equalizer 2, which is that Denzel Washington film. Apparently the first ever sequel Denzel Washington's been doing, but Pedro Pascal playing a villain. I mean, we've got him in Kingsman this year, and like we loved him in Game of Thrones. We're just gonna big up our Game of Thrones Battle of Brackets best character, but Oberyn was in it yesterday. Pedro Pascal, like, he's someone that now if he pops in films and be like, oh, I'm kind of going to be intrigued because I fucking love Oberyn Martell. And seeing him with El Lasso in Kingsman is going to be quite something. And I feel that I think he's going to steal it next in Kingsman. I think he'll probably be a villain as well in Kingsman, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in Equalizer 2. And another little casting one. Speaking of amazing Game of Thrones characters, do you remember Dario, played by Ed Skrein? No, you don't, because he got sacked because he was shit. Ed Skrein has been cast in Hellboy. They haven't even said who he's playing. He's starting shooting soon. He was also Francis in Deadpool. I'm not a big fan of Deadpool, so I'd rather not go on about it. But, you know, they spell his name out with dead bodies because it's so hip and cool and funny. Yeah.
I really don't have anything to say on Ed Skrein. I don't know Hellboy. I think his character was announced. I think it's General or Major something. I have no idea. I don't follow Hellboy.
I don't blame you.
It's R-rated, isn't it? So he'll probably get a few F words in there in his Cockney accent.
Probably. Oh God. Almost, but almost at the end. The Glass, the new Junior Spielberg Shyamalan film coming out soon. Everyone knows that it's following Split and Unbreakable. I believe me and you have seen neither of these two films.
No, and I'm kind of apprehensive for you to read the synopsis out if it is going to spoil the ending of Split.
I don't know any of these characters, which I'm just to say Glass finds Dunn pursuing Crumb's superhuman figure of the Beast in a series of escalating encounters. I do not know what any of that means.
No.
And there's a synopsis online for people if they want to see it. I need to see Split. I need to see Unbreakable. Everyone told me for years to watch Unbreakable. But I feel like I'm best off doing like a little binge before Glass comes out because it's coming out in January next year.
Prime time for movies then. Get hyped.
Or is it January 2019? 18 or 19? I'm not sure which one. Probably 19. But I want to see that. Finally, we have a poster for Blade Runner 2049. It's just a poster, isn't it? Like,
I hate this poster so much. And I know it's just a poster. This doesn't mean, the film's a different thing. The film's probably going to be incredible. Of course it is. Denis Villeneuve. This poster is terrible. This is the theatrical. This is the international poster. So I don't know if this is going to be the official theatrical one. It's the easiest, most cliche collage of characters of the movie. Really poorly photoshopped, really like airbrushed and everything like that. And it looks terrible. Like I would have loved, how that original Force Awakens poster came out, and I think it was for, was it for Comic-Con or was it Celebration?
Yeah.
The Drew Struzan one. Look at the original theatrical Blade Runner poster. It's one of my favorite posters ever. I think Drew Struzan did that one as well. Looks amazing. If they could have done something like that, this would have been amazing. But this is just, it looks like it's been thrown. It's like the Spider-Man Homecoming one. Just throw all the characters on there, just cobble them together on an image, and there you go. There's your poster. And there's just no elegance to it. Like the poster of the first Blade Runner was like a character itself. Like there's a mood that's created from that artwork. This, I just get nothing.
It's just, it's just half red, half blue. It's like a poor man's version of the Last Jedi poster where they're trying to have the light on one side, the dark on the other.
At least it's not like the cliche back to the camera overlooking a wasteland of some kind. That's
we might get another poster. There's still 2 months before it comes out. But however, the poster may look bad, but the film looks outstanding. So we're looking forward to that. Next up, trailer talk, which we're skipping tonight because we've agreed on a decision to get rid of it unless there is actually major trailers to talk about. Because in all honesty, no one cares about films like Goon or like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre prequel, whatever origin they want to do next. So because it takes it way too much time. We're getting rid of that for the time being until the major ones come out to play. So for example, if the Stars one come out, obviously we talk about it. Box office breakdowns next, and as usual, this means we're near the end, but I can fly through. The box office is literally dead. We knew August was dead, but this year I think it's like 15% down on last year in the August takings. It's been nothing. Hitman's Bodyguard, which looks absolutely awful, entered at number 1 with 21 mil. Annabelle was dropped to number 2 with 15 mil. Logan Lucky, which looks hilarious, is meant to be great fun, enters number 3 with 7.6 mil. And Dunkirk has dropped to number 4 with 6.6 mil.
Still in there.
It's still doing insane, and although it's dropped to 6.6 mil, it's still only dropping by like 30% of the time, which is mental holdings for a film in its fifth week now. It's on 396 mil worldwide, and its budget's 100 mil, so it's almost quadrupled it. The fact it's a British war film as well is pretty insane, I think, for a box office taken. The weekend preview, there's literally nothing to preview. The Hitman's Bodyguard is expected to retain number 1. They haven't even put a prediction budget. They're saying it's expected to be one of the quietest weekends of the entire year in film. It is mental given that 2 months ago we had like Transformers 50 mil. 1 week later, 100 mil for something else. 1 week before that, like 80 mil. That you're getting the big guns dropping left, right, center, and now we're just dipping to that quiet note, the land where it's okay. We'll get the odd blockbuster film that we can talk about and how that's going to go on, but August is always
into
dead.
September. It's Even on the history of the channel, we find it really hard to find a movie to even go and see, let alone talk about. We do have 3 movies released in the UK at least this weekend, though, so we might have reviews on those. I believe Detroit is our official confirmed review that we're doing. We're going to aim for Saturday on that one. There's also American Made, which is the new Tom Cruise film, and there's also Logan Lucky, which a few of us on the channel are definitely excited to see. So we might have reviews on that, but in terms of that, else to really talk about.
Yeah, and with that, that wraps up this week's episode of the news. It's been a very short one. Like we said, there hasn't been much news at all. Maybe it's just the fact that, you know, DC stole all the major plot points or whatever, but like the films coming out, it's just dead. There will be massive things that come. I'm bound there'll be times when big things pop up. This DC stuff, guarantee next week we'll probably be discussing, like, I don't know, they'll probably announce the casting of like Robin, and then Robin won't appear in the film. Oh, speaking of that, we did forget some DC news. Jesse Eisenberg has been cut from Justice League.
Yes.
And what's that? I hear cheering around the world. Ding, ding.
I hear the bells dinging. Yeah.
Yeah. He will not be missed by any. Well, actually, except some deluded idiots on the internet. He will be missed by them, but no one else. And with that, I guess we can wrap up the news. Like I said, it's been a quiet week. Let us know your thoughts on the DC stuff, because it is an absolute nonsense of what's been going on with it all.
And be nice in the comments, be respectful.
Yeah,
different opinions.
Respect opinions. Like, we only mentioned Marvel once, and that was when we had to transition into a news piece on Marvel. I don't want to get you too upset, but no, as usual, like, share, comment, subscribe. As Taylor say, hit the bell. What I'm saying, go check Battle of the Brackets. Yesterday was one of our best episodes to date. We discussed best Game of Thrones character. Coming on Monday is going to be our review of the season finale of Game of Thrones. That is going to be absolutely insane. We cannot wait for that. Obviously, we've got reviews of films coming out of Detroit, but we are entering Oscar season. With Oscar season becomes more films. I think it's even coming out in September. So there's a couple of big films left, but we've got potentially a new episode of Film Club tomorrow, and we have a new show we're working on behind the scenes, which I can't wait to talk about at another point when it's more secure. But as usual, just follow us. We're in a bit of a Game of Thrones type, so just check out all of our Game of Thrones reviews and all that jazz. So yeah, I guess we can say thank you for listening, and we will see you next week for another episode of Cinema Savvy News.